Susan, you are muted.
Okay, good.
Good to go.
All right, sorry, y'all. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for today's Reflections and Projections event. Tonight, Dr. Gary Pollack will reflect on his first year as the Dean of College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, as well as provide an update on his vision to advance the college in the years ahead. We will also hear from Dr. Martin Ohlinger, University of Toledo Clinical Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice and Chair, Department of Pharmacy Practice. Dr. Jennifer Richardson, Clinical Pharmacy Coordinator for Mercy Health, St. Anne Hospital, and Alumni Affiliate President. Ryan Sears, University of Toledo College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences Student Council President. My name is Susan Wilson. I'm Director of Development here at the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. Also on this call is Billy Pierce, Associate Vice President for Alumni Relations. As guests are joining us, I want to share a few housekeeping notes about our virtual event. Attendee names are not visible to other attendees. They are only visible to hosts and presenters. Therefore, you will only see your name in the attendee list. For today's presentation, we request that you submit questions for Dean Pollack, our panelists by using a chat box, which will be monitored throughout the session. To access the chat feature, click on the chat icon at the bottom right corner of your screen. If you would, a chat panel will appear in the right bottom column. Additionally, if you would like to change your view on your screen, you can do so by clicking on different options in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Now I'd like to turn things over to Dr. Martin Ohlinger for opening remarks.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that and the brief introduction there. And on behalf of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmacy Practice, I'm pleased to to welcome everyone to Reflections and Projections, conversation with Dr. Gary Pollack, your Dean of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. So we're very glad that all of you are able to join us this evening. And while we're very grateful that we're able to get together like this in a virtual format, we really look forward to the time, and hopefully that time will be pretty soon, very soon, when we can do this face to face. But again, welcome everyone and welcome Dean Pollack. You know, with all of the excitement and the, I guess the busyness, you could say, of starting a new school year alongside Dean Pollack's arrival last fall, we never really had a proper official welcome event for him. And now here we are, you know, a year later celebrating his 1-year anniversary with us here at Toledo. So indeed, it is appropriate that he would speak to us about his reflections from his first year in Toledo, as well as projections for the future. And you know what that speaks to really in my mind, reflections from the past and then projections moving forward, is change. And so indeed, it's also appropriate. I'm thinking as I'm sitting here looking out my window of office, that we're having this conversation at this time of year, and that is fall, when the leaves outside are starting to change yellow and orange and brilliant shades of red, and we're seeing change, literally, the change of seasons right before our eyes. You know, with change though comes uncertainty, and uncertainty can of course make us a little uncomfortable at times. You know, when I came to the University of Toledo back in 2000, the first time I was here full time, I was actually hired in under an interim department chair, an interim dean, an interim provost, and an interim president. You know, speaking of uncertainty and feeling a little uncomfortable maybe at the time, when Dean Pollack just joined us here at UToledo last year, we had just completed a year under the leadership of an interim dean. And our college was facing significant enrollment, academic, human resource, financial challenges, not to mention an accreditation visit that was just right around the corner from ACPE. So certainly a lot of challenges, a lot of uncertainty, maybe a lot of uncomfortableness. And currently, I don't think I need to remind anyone of the fact that we're living in a world of change right now. Change that, change like none of us has ever faced or seen, really. what we've experienced here at our university, our college, and our alumni community this last year has at times been difficult, really even to process. And what we're facing as we move forward is just as daunting. Fortunately for the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, we have a leader in Dean Pollack who stands ready to take on these challenges and shape our future. So we look forward to Dean Pollack sharing with us his reflections on what he's learned from his first year and his projections on how we will move forward, building on our college's years of tradition and excellence. However, having said that, before we hear from Dean Pollack, it's also important to point out that we are really fortunate to have such wonderful, strong, dedicated alumni and student leadership as well, and we are going to hear from those leaders now. So first, it's my honor to introduce Jennifer Richardson, President of your College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences Alumni Affiliate, to offer her remarks. Dr. Richardson.
Hi there. Hi. Thanks. I think I was still loading. Sorry about that. But hi, I'm Jen Richardson, a lifetime member of the UToledo Alumni Association and current president of the CPPS Alumni Affiliate. When I was a student, and actually past being a student, I had no idea what an affiliate was. So for those with that question, I'll try to answer it here. An affiliate is just a grouping of people that are together by academic college, such as our pharmacy college, or a special interest group grad, such as LGBTQA+, to promote networking, socialization, philanthropy, and volunteerism. You're automatically assigned to your college affiliate upon graduation, and you can select to be part of any special interest affiliate within the Alumni Association. These affiliate association assignments are free, but membership to the Alumni Association is how we and the special interest affiliates are able to operate. So a portion of your membership dues would go directly to the affiliates for programming and outreach. So if you aren't already a member, please consider joining the Alumni Association, as we truly value your support. The CPPS affiliate is led by a board that meets several times a year to plan activities to encourage and promote fellowship and connections with our alumni, alma mater, and students. And I'd like to especially thank our past president, Dr. Danielle Draymond, for her work with our board, as last year we were named Affiliate of the Year. Our current board has grown recently to 12 members, and we're really geared up for a great year. Please visit the UT alumni website if you're interested in this opportunity. I've only been with the affiliate for a couple years, but it's been really fun so far. Last year, I got to throw candy from a convertible at the homecoming parade, and I got to go to the homecoming gala and was impressed to see all the great things our UT grads are doing around the world. And I've had some great conversations and received lots of smiles giving out treats in the hallway between classes with my fellow board member, Dr. Krista Fagg. The affiliate is working closely with our dean to develop a mentoring program that will match new students with former graduates of our college, and we're really excited about this. So grads, please be on the lookout for opportunities to sign up as a mentor. With the pandemic switching many of our interactions to virtual formats, we're looking for successful ways to connect with our current students and alumni. We've actually just welcomed several new board members from out of the state, and we're going to continue on focusing to grow connections with our CPPS alumni across the globe. New affiliate board members and all affiliate participation really help us grow this vision. Finally, with 100% participation, the affiliate board this year raised funds to start the beginning account necessary to raise money for an endowed scholarship to award to CPPS students. Financial barriers, unfortunately, remain common to our students. Ways you could help this effort are to be on the lookout for a crowdfunding page currently in development. Also, the Day of Giving is coming this spring. And also watch for CPPS gear sales that will hopefully be available soon for purchase. We're working on, we're finalizing the ideas for windbreakers and quarter zip sweatshirts. So that's pretty exciting. And please note, for the things I just mentioned, the donation opportunities, 100% of these funds would go towards the scholarship and ultimately get to our students. So with that, thank you for your attention and time, and I encourage you to connect with us, your affiliate, to continue to grow connections with our CPPS students and alums. And at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce your Student Council President, Ryan Sears. Go Rockets!
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. My name is Ryan Sears, and I'm a P3 student at the University of Toledo. As a student, it's really easy to get so caught up in classes and exams that we can sometimes just forget all of the hard work that goes in behind the scenes to make the College of Pharmacy run smoothly. As student council president this year, and as a student voice in the ACPE accreditation committee last year, I've had some unique experiences and opportunities to see faculty and staff working behind the scenes. I was just blown away at the dedication and commitment I saw. As students, we can sometimes think the professors come into class, they teach and leave, and maybe prepare some lecture material afterwards. But these professors and staff are coming in hours at a time after classes are already over, staying late, figuring out how to make things run well. And I was just blown away by that. It's completely apparent to me that us students are in good hands with people who care about our success. Another thing that's very clear to me is that our leadership at a college and university level care about the safety of our students during the COVID-19 pandemic. The furniture in the College of Pharmacy is separated to maintain social distancing, and everywhere you go, there's sanitation supplies to make sure we're staying safe. It hasn't been an easy task to make all of these things happen, but UToledo has risen to the occasion to make sure that we're all safe. Although this has been a year of uncertainty, I know of one thing for sure, that we will weather this storm and come out stronger because of it. Thank you for your time tonight, and go Rockets.
Good evening, everyone. So happy that you all were able to join us. I have the distinct honor of introducing to you our speaker this evening. Dr. Pollack received his Bachelor of Arts degree, majoring in chemistry and psychology from Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. Following completion of his PhD in pharmaceutics at the University at Buffalo, he accepted a faculty position in the School of Pharmacy at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he remained until 2010. Once he left UNC in 2010, he became the Dean of the College of Pharmacy at Washington State University. While there, the college grew substantially, doubling enrollment in its Doctor of Pharmacy program, establishing a satellite PharmD campus in Yakima, Washington, a 5-fold increase in the number of PhD intending students in the Pharmaceutical Sciences graduate program, and a 10-fold increase in extramural research support. He subsequently left Washington State in 2019 to accept a position here with us at the University of Toledo. Please join me in welcoming our Dean of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, Dr. Gary Pollack.
Thank you so much, Billy, for that very, very kind introduction. Thank you all for being here. This is an unusual event in many ways. I think it's a good test of what we can do in the virtual space to remain connected, to ensure that we have good communication among all our constituencies. And I, in particular, would value your feedback and your input after this event is over, because this could become a template for us to continue to interact with alumni and friends, potential students, current who happen to be distributed around the state, without having to travel from place to place to meet with very small groups, which was my experience when I was at Washington State. So hopefully you'll find this to be informative, helpful, enjoyable, and if not, would like to hear about that too, so that we can do a second. Billy and Vanessa for working so hard to make this event a reality. And Deans, have a really super simple job in most cases. You know, you stroll in and stand up, or in this case, sit down and yap for a while, and things go well, and it makes the dean look really, really good. But it's all the people who are working so hard each and every day to make sure that everything we do is a success. So, guys, thanks for being such a great team. Thanks for pulling all of this together. Another thank you to the University of Toledo for giving me the opportunity to serve as your dean of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. And I choose the word serve very carefully. I believe wholeheartedly that the dean is a service position. The reality is that I serve a number of different individuals and groups. I serve at the pleasure of the president and the provost and the board of trustees. I serve the faculty and staff of the college. I serve the alumni. I serve our community, but most importantly, I serve our students. And don't be a stranger, even in the virtual space. Let me know how it's going. Let me know how I can help. And let me know how I can serve you better. So for reflections, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this part of the program and finally decided that reflection this year are kind of like looking into a funhouse mirror at a carnival. I mean, this has been, as Martin indicated, just such an unusual year and an unusual time that we're in. You know, as a dean, I knew this was going to be an unusual year as I was transitioning from Washington State, because the plan was for me to arrive here about 6 weeks before we were site visited for reaccreditation consideration for our Doctor of Pharmacy program. And that in and of itself is a little bit of an unusual event. Reaccreditation for pharmacy programs, if the program is good and if the program is fortunate, now occur on an 8-year cycle. And so they are unusual events in and of themselves. But to join reaccreditation consideration is unusual. And so I thought a lot about that as I was transitioning here. I built a bunch of scenarios, especially during the time that I was driving across the country from Spokane, Washington to here, trying to think of how I would respond to various things that could go wrong. And I'll admit right up front that I was extremely short-sighted. I did not predict or build a scenario for a global pandemic with a cratering economy and so much unrest over really, really important social justice and equity issues. So I didn't build a plan for where we are now, and I hope you'll understand that and forgive me for it. Despite how unusual the year has been, it has not been without really high points, and it begins with the consideration for reaccreditation of our PharmD program. So at the end of the day, we were reaccredited with no strings attached for the full 8-year cycle. And that in and of itself is a significant accomplishment. I had nothing to do with it. All that work was done before I got here. I just had to make sure that I showed up and didn't fumble the ball. And some really good pharmacy programs, really excellent pharmacy programs over the last 3 or 4 years have not been so fortunate and have have run into some accreditation difficulties, even though anyone on the planet who knows what they're talking about would consider them to be excellent programs. So I think we are in good shape. We have work to do on a lot of fronts, but we would regardless. And so I'm very pleased with, I'm extremely pleased with the quality of the program that I inherited. I am extremely pleased with the aspects that Ryan had mentioned, of the dedication of the staff and faculty to the students, to the program, and to the university is just outstanding. And I feel very fortunate to have a core group of really committed alumni, as Jen was articulating during her comments. So, we have all of the elements in place to do what we need to do to continue to get better each and every day. And that's my commitment to the college community. Having said all of that, I think it's important to acknowledge the obvious and view the world as it is instead of as we wish it to be. The COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc in our college, with our university, and in higher education throughout the United States. To be sitting in a meeting in March 12th and hearing that, by March 20th, we've got to be prepared to be delivering all of our curricula remotely at a high quality, with appropriate engagement of our students, with appropriate support mechanisms in place to ensure that our students will succeed in this most unusual time. The time frame that was required to make that transition was unbelievable. And if you had asked me a year ago if a program could, within a 7 to 10 day period, totally shift from face-to-face instruction to remote delivery of a curriculum, I would have said it was impossible. At least it was impossible to do in a quality manner. And yet we pulled it off. And not just our college, the entire university did this. And I think that's a real testament to the concern that our faculty have for the process, for the educational process, and for the success of our students. The dedication of our staff, who work just tirelessly in the background, rarely, I think, getting credit for what they bring to the table, which is so important to keep a program running. And the resiliency of our students. This is not easy. It is. I am as sure about this as I am about anything, that shifting from a traditional approach to teaching and learning to a remote approach is extraordinarily difficult for students to do. And yet our students did it. They did it well. And I could not possibly be prouder of this community than I am in thinking about how we were able together to manage this. And I say we guardedly because I didn't have anything to do with it. The staff, the faculty, and the students together just did a phenomenal job. So for all of you who happen to be on right now, I offer my congratulations. I offer my thanks and my encouragement for going forward. We obviously are not through this tunnel yet. And that's why we're having this event in the manner that we are. And of course, one of the outcomes of the pandemic was the economic impact on communities, on our state, and on our nation. And so the University of Toledo was faced with a very difficult challenge of restructuring its budget, coming into the end of the fiscal year at the end of June within budget, as state law requires. And so throughout the university, the colleges have taken an enormous financial hit. Our college had its expendable budget reduced by 14.5%. For context, when I was at the University of Carolina, a 3% cut was considered to be the trigger for emergency action. I think, at least at the time that I was at North Carolina, a cut as steep as 7 or 8% would have been viewed as unmanageable. And so trying to live within a budget that's been reduced by 14.5% is a challenge, to be quite honest about it. But it's a challenge that that so far we're meeting. We've met it head on. I think the faculty in particular who they've lost colleagues to help them teach. They've lost colleagues to help them engage in research. They've lost staff colleagues to help support their activities. I think the faculty understand where we are and why we are where we are, and have rolled up their sleeves to do whatever they can to make this work. And so that kind of has been my year, sliding from Spokane to getting ready for a reaccreditation visit, to going through reaccreditation and managing the aftermath of that, having a couple of months to try to get to know folks, get to know systems in the university, get to know my colleagues, develop a relationship with my boss, and then we all dispersed after that. So it was a truly different, challenging, interesting, and on many levels rewarding year. And during all of that, in addition to continuing to teach our students, our faculty continue to make progress as scholars. They continue to develop themselves. They continue to make a name for our program and represent our university on the national stage. And so all of that is reason to celebrate. It should be unguardedly and unqualified optimistic for the future. And so, as much as anyone, I'm looking forward to the pandemic being in our rearview mirror, so that we can continue on in what you might consider to be a typical or normal manner. But the pandemic, the economic challenges that we face have not diminished at all my optimism for the future of our college and its program. Now the projections, other than the blanket optimism statement, which I just delivered, I have a few very specific priorities for the near term, and these are not necessarily just my own. They were issues that were articulated to me when I was a candidate for my position as areas that needed attention. And so I view these as opportunities for us to build, as Martin so eloquently stated, on a tradition of excellence for our college, and continue on its journey to being among the very elite programs in the United States. So my first priority going forward is to ensure that our students have a truly transformational experience while they happen to be with us. One of the areas that ACPE, our accrediting body, has identified for us as a challenge is making sure that we get our Doctor of Pharmacy students through our program on time. And what this communicates and more resources in a resource constricted environment into student success initiatives and basic student support measures. And so that is probably my number one priority at this point, is to make sure that we continue to improve the product that we deliver to our students. We continue to ensure that our students are successful, are practice ready for our PharmD students the day they leave our program, but are also lifetime ready to evolve with a rapidly and profoundly changing healthcare delivery landscape. And I am confident that that we can give our students a transformational experience with first in and we can make similar research to movement into professional programs, whether that be pharmacy programs or medicine or something else. And so we have an equivalent obligation to those students to make sure that their experience is first rate and that they are as successful as they possibly can be. And our graduate students, my experience at North Carolina and at Washington State is that oftentimes graduate students get left out of the mix in terms of discussing priorities and discussing the health of a college or an academic program. And the pandemic that we're in should emphasize, as well as anything, our need for preparing the next generation of scientists focused on healthcare issues. We desperately need individuals in the drug discovery space, an area in which we happen to be pretty strong, to develop and create new therapeutics, especially for infectious disease. Shortly before the pandemic hit, well, maybe a little bit more than shortly, it was I think back in November of last year, I was on a conference call with Representative Marcy Kaptur, who was interested in talking about what the University of Toledo and the Toledo region could do in the kind of the general area of therapeutics. And she was focused mostly on issues like the affordability of drugs for chronic disorders, the integrity of the supply chain for ensuring that this country will have supplies of critical medicines going forward. And I tried to make the case to her that the biggest national security issue that we have related to any question of healthcare is infectious disease. and the potential for a pandemic occurring. And while I didn't build a scenario around it, I was lobbying our representative for focus on this area and investment in our university to help prepare for an event that no one saw coming in the near term, but everyone believed would come eventually. And so our graduate students are in that mix. They are going to be the individuals who will help us navigate what we need to have on the table in our therapeutic armamentarium going forward, and also to evaluate the efficacy of various healthcare models, how we can do better to ensure that every American has access to quality healthcare. So on the educational side, educational program side, that's my priority for the next year. I also have a priority to grow enrollment in our programs. The university, as I mentioned, is hurting financially, as virtually every university in the country is. So enrollment growth is a very high priority. The reality is that enrollment growth in the Doctor of Pharmacy program can only be modest, if any. We're landlocked by the availability of clinical sites. We are in what I believe is undoubtedly the most competitive region of the United States for recruiting students into a Doctor of Pharmacy program. And so we are not going to double enrollment here the way my former institution was able to manage, because the landscape is different. Nevertheless, we have opportunities to increase enrollment, especially in the bachelor's program, and particularly in our unique cosmetic sciences program. So we have the only bachelor's program in cosmetic sciences and formulation design in the nation. We have good reason to believe that we can expand enrollment in that program significantly, as long as we have the resources available to deliver a quality experience to our students. And so we'll be looking quite closely at what might be available to us to increase enrollment, to not only do our share of normalizing the resource flow into the university, but generating resources that will allow our college to rebuild in some critically important areas. And then the third area is research and graduate education. And the University of Toledo is a highly research active university. As a college of pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences, in that type of university, we need to be highly research active. We have the opportunity to make significant contributions to the research profile of our university, economic development in and around Toledo. We have the opportunity to continue to produce the highest quality graduate level pharmaceutical sciences that we can. And so finding the resources to continue to push the margins of our research portfolio and support our faculty who are dedicated to generating new knowledge is an important priority for me going forward as well. Jen had mentioned our plan to implement an alumni mentoring program, starting with our Doctor of Pharmacy students as kind of the test cohort, and then migrating that to, I hope, all of the students in our college as well. And this is one example area of how we can impact our students across the board in a really positive way by aligning them immediately upon their enrollment in our college with successful alumni who can be role models, who can be advocates for them, who can be advisors to them from outside of the academic space. This will help us attract good students. It will help our students be successful while they're in the program. It will help our students be successful once they graduate from our program. And it will help us continue to enhance the reputation of our college and of the University of Toledo. So with that, I think I have addressed the issues that were assigned to me. I am certain I've burned through the time that was allocated for my comments. And I wanted to make sure that I left enough time at the end here so that if you folks have questions or want to engage in discussion, we'd have the opportunity to do so. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you do for our program each and every day. And go Rockets.
Thank you so much, Gary. That was really informative. We do have a list of questions already, and I have already put in the chat box that if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in there. Our first question, however, is as we move through the coronavirus pandemic and welcome the largest class of P1s in a few years, how is the college assessing how the students feel about the newly implemented curriculum? Also, what is the college doing to support student organizations?
So that's a great set of questions, and it's interesting that the deans of the various colleges in the university today receive data on how students feel about their experience with remote learning, primarily focused on what they saw during the spring semester, but of course there's leakage into our current semester as well. The timing is never good for an event like a pandemic, and so to say that the timing of this was unfortunate for us, is nearly a ridiculous comment to make. But that was the first thing that came to my mind, because our program is in the middle of this curricular revision rollout in our Doctor of Pharmacy program, and we rely really heavily on student feedback and on collecting and analyzing a bunch of metrics regarding student performance. And this guides us in terms of developing next steps for continued curricular improvement. And so now we have a bunch of confounding variables. So we have a curriculum that was migrating, but not fully migrated. And so we still have changes in that, which we would really like to isolate so that we understand how this new approach is working. Then we layer upon that the fact that we are now in this remote learning environment, which is going to have an impact on how students perform and how they feel about their educational experience. And we're not going to be able to separate those two variables. And then we layer upon that the secondary issues, I guess it would be a good way to describe it, of what this pandemic is doing to folks. So it's not only that our students are learning in a remote environment now, it's that we have students who are concerned about the health of their family members, or maybe their own health, in ways that they weren't before. So there's an anxiety issue associated with personal, family, and friend health that all the data that we have previously would suggest would affect student performance and how students feel about their experience. And then we layer on top of that economic anxiety because of the impact that the pandemic has had on the economy. And we layer upon that the fact that the budget cuts that we have experienced have influenced how the college has to operate. And so we don't necessarily have all of the assets on the table that were present a year or two ago. And in one of those areas is student services, where things are restructured. Monica Holliday Goodman, our associate dean, responsible for the student affairs portfolio in our college, has taken on other responsibilities as well, because we've lost 2 of the 4 associate dean positions in our college. So everyone's doing more administratively. And so when we talk about student organization issues and how those are being protected during the pandemic, that's something that I'm not sure that we have yet as good a handle on as we should, or as we will, as we move through this environment. What is clear, absolutely clear, in the data that I saw today about the students' perception of their experience is that they feel disconnected from community. And it's not so much, if I'm interpreting the data correctly, that they are mourning disconnection from the faculty who educate them as the driving force. And I'm not saying that that sense isn't there or isn't important, but it seemed to me, in looking at the data in a very cursory fashion, because this came in the middle of a meeting, that where students are really feeling this is with respect to being isolated from each other. And that's where effective, vibrant student organizations are going to be even more important than they are in normal times, when folks can sit in a room together and share a meal, share experiences in a typical manner. So that's something that we need to have on the table to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to assure that our students continue to develop a sense of community and feel part of the Rocket Pharmacy family. So I hope that response was helpful.
Sorry.
Dr. Pollack, could you provide information on how to get involved with the Rocket Pharmacy Alumni Mentoring Program? And will the program use Rocket Connect?
Oh, good question. So I'll start with the last one first. I don't know if the program will use Rocket Connect or not. What we're and I'm laughing because I was on a phone call with Jen, I think on Friday of last week, and we were discussing how to do this. And so we agreed that as a first step, we would create a web form, a fillable web form that would exist on our website, which our alumni could visit and fill in just a very few pieces of information to indicate their willingness and interest in serving as a mentor. And so once we have that ready to go, which I hope will be within the next couple of weeks, we'll get the word out by email, by word of mouth, smoke signals if we need to, whatever we have to do to make sure that folks know that this is available, it's ready to go. And then if Rocket Connect will help, and I'll admit to being naive about that, so I don't have a definitive answer, but if that's going to be a useful platform or approach to use, then that's what we'll do.
Okay, sorry, Gary, I just was taking a minute to get online here. The next question is collaboration with the University of Toledo for postgraduate studies to the students of Tilanania. I'm going to hope I said that correctly. Social welfare residential education institutions who have entered into MOU with the University of Toledo for SURF internships. There's a lot of three-letter acronyms right there, so I hope that I understood what you were talking about.
Okay, so I get
Oh, okay, wait, I understand this, and I apologize. Now I'm getting this. Okay, so we had the students in from India earlier this year, who were here, who entered into the University of Toledo for an internship. I think the question is, what's the collaboration there? How can we collaborate more?
Well, it's obviously a difficult environment right now because of travel restrictions and to a certain extent budgetary concerns that we have, and I'm not sure what resources we actually need to make this run, but I am interested in collaborating with anyone or any entity if it supports the strategic goals and the mission and vision of our college. And I think I highly value international collaborations. I think our students do extraordinarily well when they have the opportunity to interact with folks from different cultures. And I'm concerned, quite honestly, that in the current environment, we run the risk of becoming quite siloed. And I don't mean we necessarily as an individual college. I think all academic programs are feeling the same kind of restrictions and the same kind of risk, that if we can't travel to other places and we can't bring people in from other places for whatever reason, then we are weaker for that. And so I am committed to making sure that, to the extent that we possibly can, our collaborations are many and are significant.
Dr. Pollack, do you foresee specialty pharmacy becoming more prevalent?
I don't see how that doesn't happen. So, I'll take a step back and talk about the pharmacy profession as I see it a little more generally. And if you were on and listening when Billy gave me that overly kind introduction, you know that I'm not a pharmacist by education. I'm not a practitioner, but I've been associated with a school or college of pharmacy since 1979. So, you pick up some stuff from that. And I've been quite interested over the last 7 or 8 years in listening to the commentary that's come from some programs in academic pharmacy, basically saying that, the sky is falling for the pharmacy profession, that it's going to retract significantly, that the number of opportunities will diminish, that we're oversubscribed to educational seats. So we have too many programs, or the programs are too big, and we're just educating too many pharmacists. And I always thought it was interesting that academic programs who are dedicated to preparing a particular type of professional would take such a negative outlook on the profession that they're associated with. My view is much more optimistic, that we know that to meet the healthcare challenges of the United States, we have to change how we are delivering healthcare. And we know that among all of the different healthcare providers, pharmacists are the most accessible professionals around. And so if we can get past restrictions on pharmacists being able to charge, to be compensated for their intellectual input to patient care, the world is going to open up in ways that we don't necessarily have the ability to predict right now for well-educated, well-prepared pharmacy professionals. And that's why at the beginning of my comments, I stressed that our obligation is to make sure that our students are practice ready when they leave our program. But I think we have a moral obligation, not only to our students, but to our society, that those students be ready to change, capable of changing, and accepting new roles that are going to be available to them during their working lifetimes. So yeah, specialty pharmacy, sure. And all sorts of different practice models. At least that's my prediction or projection, I guess, would in light of what we're doing tonight. That's what I believe is coming down the pike. And so that's the emphasis that we had at Washington State University. It was one of the reasons that we were able to get the interest in our program elevated to the point at which we could double enrollment.
Great, thank you, Gary. So the next question is, how can a bright international student afford the University of Toledo?
Gosh, I don't know if I have a good answer to that. I mean, in part, it depends on the program that bright individual is pursuing. My primary experience during my career with international students was in the graduate education space. And so when I was an active research scientist and graduate mentor, I had multiple students from overseas join my lab. And the key there was making sure that you had the resources to pay students, graduate students, a stipend and to offset their tuition. We have a different economic model, budgeting model for graduate programming here than I've experienced at the other places that I've been. And so we have to work our way around that. Having said that, I understand the challenge with out-of-state tuition rates, even at the University of Toledo, which is generally considered to be an affordable institution. And I'm not sure that I have a good answer to that at this point.
Okay, our next question is, what's the current passing rate for PharmD students taking the pharmacy boards? And I believe we have a graphic that's going to come up on screen for everyone to see as you're answering the question.
Yeah, so the last year that we have data, 96% for the NAPLEX, the board exam, and 100%, the only program in the United States in 2019 to have everyone pass the jurisprudence exam on their first attempt. So our students are doing just a super job of preparing themselves for success on these really important exams. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Anthony Patton, who helped our students prepare for the law exam. And so that 100% pass rate is at least in part due to his care for our students. But of course, whether students prepare themselves for exams such as this or not is largely up to the individual student. So I think it would be wrong of me to say, well, this is our program doing this great job. It's a partnership with our students.
Great. Next question, Gary, is what are your plans to improve the University College of Pharmacy national ranking, which dropped drastically around the year 2000?
That was the same issue that that I inherited when I moved to the to Washington State University. So just for a little bit of historical perspective, this is about other programs now, but I hope you'll understand why I'm going in this direction. In the year 2000, the University of North Carolina, where I was ranked 21st. Washington State University was ranked 22nd. And I honestly don't know where the University of Toledo was at the turn of the century, and it still sounds really odd to say that. Over the next 10 years, the University of North Carolina rose from 21st to 1st. Then I left the ranking, no, I won't say that. They increased their ranking from 21st to 1st. Washington State University fell from 22nd to 60th. And, my job at Washington State University was to, in part, to rehabilitate that reputationally, from a national perspective. And so at the time that I left, WSU was ranked, I think, 26th by one of the two ranking agencies and was 22nd in terms of research expenditures among schools and colleges of pharmacy. And so made a pretty big move in a relatively short period of time. And there were two keys there that it would be dumb for me to not try to replicate here. One is to focus on research funding, because within the formula that's used to rank pharmacy programs, research activity plays an oversized role. And so to the extent that we can increase our extramurally funded research and increase the number of graduate students that we have pursuing research, that will put us in a better position. But we are not of a size. We don't have the capacity to be a top 10 program in terms of research expenditures. So we can't compete with the University of North Carolina's, with the University of California at San Francisco's, Ohio State, University of Michigan, programs that are in our backyard. We just don't have the capacity to do that. What we do have the capacity to do is to stake a claim and mean it, that we are the most forward-thinking, progressive pharmacy education program in the country. That was the flag that I encouraged the faculty at Washington State to plant. And that is the flag that I am encouraging the faculty here at the University of Toledo to plant. And so we do have the capability to be the best pharmacy education program in the country, unlike the inability to be the best pharmaceutical sciences research program in the country from the standpoint of research funding. So that's the strategy that I would use.
Okay, Dr. Pollack, we've got two more questions for you. We will invite our participants, if you have a question that you'd like to ask the Dean, please make sure you type it in the chat window. But the next question is, what is the future for pharmacy interns when looking for and finding a job?
Well, I'm not entirely sure the focus of the question there is. So if the question is about interns, I'm not sure that I have a good answer there. If the question is about jobs and the job market, I don't have any particular concerns about our students' ability to be competitive for placement. That having been said, I think a unique advantage that our students will have once we implement our alumni mentoring program is the networking that that program will provide to our students. And so if we have students who are looking for placement, whether that's in a residency program, whether it's going into the job market directly, whatever it is that they have to do, part of the purpose, a big part of the purpose of this type of mentoring program is to help students develop a network of advocates and a network of contacts very early in their time in the program, and to experience by interacting with an alum what success looks like. And when our students see what success looks like, they're more likely to act as a successful individual would act. And as they behave in that manner and believe in themselves that they are successful and that they will continue to be successful, then success will follow. And so I think we'll be in good shape there. And I hope that was responsive to the intent of the question.
Okay, so the last question, Dean Pollack, is when is the right time for me to relocate to the University of Toledo? This question is coming from India.
Under normal circumstances.
Sorry, Gary, there's one more question in the chat box, so don't think this is the last one. So there we go. Yep.
That's fine. So under normal circumstances, I would say the right time is tomorrow. To make your plans as aggressively as you can. The reality is that in the current environment, it's a little bit more difficult to predict, and so lots of programs, for example, enrolled students from other countries for the current academic year, and then began delivering coursework to them remotely. So they're still in their home nation, waiting to relocate to whatever their new home university is going to be. And we have students in that category here at the University of Toledo as well. And so I think that we want to make sure that whenever any student relocates here, that they can be successful in doing so, that they can do it safely, and that they can do it in a manner that will support their success. And hopefully, we'll be out of this pandemic in the not too distant future, and then we can begin to have more definitive plans on how to bring students in from elsewhere.
Okay, question that was submitted in the chat window is, how will the alumni network benefit students in the cosmetic science program?
Well, I think in the exact same way that I'm envisioning this for the Doctor of Pharmacy program, and in the interest of being totally transparent, when I was at Washington State University, I led the development of a similar alumni mentoring program there, and it was truly transformational in its effect on the culture of that college. And so my interest in doing the same thing here stems from my experience at Washington State. Because Washington State University didn't, in its College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, have an undergraduate program. It was strictly PharmD and PhD. My comfort zone here is with the approach to PharmD students. So my plan is to roll this out for our PharmD students, make sure that we are managing it appropriately, and then expand it to include our cosmetic sciences students and our Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences students, and then engage a discussion with our graduate mentors as to what this might look like for our master's and PhD intending students. So I guess I would say it's on for the cosmetic sciences students. It's on the horizon, but I wanted to start with a pilot program first, and to me, it made the most sense to utilize our PharmD program as the pilot.
Okay, so there's one question that just popped up here from our very lovely panelist, Jen Richardson, who said, and of course, please let the Dean or Jen Richardson know if you have any ideas for us. So to everybody else who's out there, if you have any ideas and you want to share them with Dean Pollack or Jen Richardson, Dr. Richardson, please feel free to reach out to them and, or me, and I will make sure that we are getting those questions off to them. As I'm seeing, I think we are closing out here. We don't have any more questions in the chat box, so I just wanted to reach out to Dean Pollack and say thank you so much. This was very informative. And to Dr. Ohlinger and Dr. Richardson and to Ryan Sears for their help in this WebEx here tonight. So thank you very much to the panelists and to our Dean. Also, we wanted to say thank you to the audience for joining us and staying in touch with the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. If you are interested in making a financial gift to the College of Pharmacy, we just put a link in the chat box to do so. And if you have any questions about that or want to reach out to me, I'm very happy to talk to you all. And if you have any further questions regarding alumni relations, then you can certainly reach out to Billy Pierce as well. We'd be very happy to stay connected with each and every one of you. Thank you again, and stay safe, everyone. And we look forward to connecting with you all again very soon.
Go Rockets!
Go Rockets!